Hey guys, so today I'm back with my November reading wrap up, and I know it's a bit late, but I really wanted to share it with you because I think I've done 2 of these videos now. I might have only been 1, but I've basically really enjoyed sharing what I've been reading and getting new ideas of what to read next, and I love watching these kind of videos as well, so I thought I'd come back for November. In November I only read 5 books, which actually isn't too bad, but some of them were quite short and quite easy to get through. I just didn't read as much as normal, but I'll start off with my one book that I read on my Kindle, which is The Tattooist of Auschwitz. So I put this as my book of the month for November, and I'll link that video down below. It tells the story of a man who ends up in Auschwitz and he becomes the tattooverer, I think it's called, aka the tattooist who puts the numbers on the men, women and children going into the camps. And he falls in love with a woman who's also in the camp, and basically it's kind of a story of their love through this awful circumstance, and it's based on a true story. The author Heather Morris met Lael Sokolov? Yes, Lael Sokolov is on the front cover, and he told his story to her and she's made it into a fictional book. It's not, the stories of what happened in the camps aren't super historically accurate. I was tweeting about reading the book and how much I loved it, and I think it was something like the Auschwitz Society. It was like a fully verified account on Twitter came back and said like, here's a link to all the reasons why it's not the most accurate depiction you can get of the camps, but it was still a really lovely story, and about a topic that I think is so important to remember and read about and keep fresh in our minds as this atrocity, and as something that never ever can happen again. And I will give it 5 stars because I think the writing was really good, and I really enjoyed reading it. It made me cry, but it was lovely. And then on a completely different note, I'm actually working backwards, so this was the last book I read at the end of November. It was my first one that I thought the cover looked sort of Christmassy. As it turns out, not Christmassy at all in terms of the story, but it's The One We Fell in Love With by Paige Toon. I really do like the cover for this. I'm going to put it here because there's more room. I think it's really pretty, and it's a story all about a set of triplets, so Eliza, Phoebe and Rose, who all fall in love with the boy next door, which, that premise just completely turned me off. I was like, this is gonna be just awful. And there were parts of the story that weren't my favourite thing in the world. It's told by all 3 of the triplets at different times, and basically how each of them love him in a different way, and it is there was some twists in it that completely shocked me that I didn't see coming at all, but I don't know, there was something about the whole idea of the likeliness of these 3 girls that were completely different, all falling in love with the same guy, and it wasn't like a crush, it was full on actual love. The storytelling was really good, I enjoyed the writing, and I would go back to the author and read another book by her, but I'm just not sure this completely hit the mark with me, and I will give it 3 stars because, as I said, the story writing was good. I just didn't really like the plot as much as I thought I would, but, well, I just liked the cover, and I was really hoping, I judged the book by its cover, and it was a bad mistake. But it was definitely something that I'm glad I read. I did quite enjoy reading it. It's just, yeah, it wasn't really for me. And then this is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste. No? I don't really know how to pronounce her surname. It's spelled NG. And this was my favourite book of the month by far. I loved it. I would say it was possibly even beat The Tattooist of Auschwitz for how much I loved it. It basically tells the story of Marilyn and James, who are a Chinese-American couple living in Ohio in the 1970s. Marilyn is a white American and James is Chinese, so they've got 3 children, and basically they are all subject to quite a lot of racism in their town and in their lives, at school and at work. And their daughter Lydia, they want all the best for her. She's their oldest daughter, and at the beginning of the book she turns up drowned in a lake and nobody knows quite what's gone on. The coroners put it down to a suicide, and it's basically, the book is told by all members of the family, including Lydia, and it's all about what brought them to that point where their family was so fractured and where Lydia ends up dead, and whether or not, what each of them think could have caused it, who they blame for the death, and whether or not they think it's a suicide. And I just think it's such an interesting book, and I really want to read Little Fires Everywhere by the same author now, so I need to get my hands on that. Right, and then we have, I think, my least favourite book of the month. This is Apple Tree Yard. Our main character, Yvonne, is a kind of mid-50s scientist, and her husband does the same. They've been married for quite a while and they're kind of friends, but there's a lot of comfort and there is love in their marriage, but it's not like an overwhelming love, and there's no lust or adventure anymore. And basically at the start of the novel, Yvonne meets a kind of mysterious man and starts an affair with him. And whilst all this kind of action is taking place, the book switches to the future where there's a court case and Yvonne's on the stand and you don't know what for, right up until the very end where the 2 storylines merge. Spoilers. I'm trying not to spoiler it, but basically she assumes that the man that she's sleeping with is some kind of like secret agent. He never tells her he is. And at one point in the novel, this is a big trigger warning, at one point in the novel she is raped by somebody she knows, and she can't speak out about it for various reasons, and this leads to quite a few consequences in the book. There's a lot of talk of kind of rape trials and what would happen if she stepped forward, why she should step forward, why she shouldn't, and the kind of inner turmoil that happens when she doesn't actually speak out about this crime. And yeah, it's a very interesting book in terms of like criminal justice, but I just felt like it dragged on forever and I couldn't really connect with any of the characters, so I think I'll give this a 3 as well, 3 stars. I didn't actually mention, obviously, favourite book of the month, I'm going to give 5 stars to Everything I Never Told You. This Wordsworth book of complete ghost stories by Charles Dickens was the first book I read this month, and it just wasn't what I expected. It had... I didn't realise that it was going to have like excerpts from lots of books, so it was actually quite hard to dip in and out of it. It had lots of ghost stories from the Pickwick Papers and other kind of key novels that Dickens has written, so there were lots of characters being flung at me that I didn't recognise, and so I found it quite hard to move from story to story, but it did have A Christmas Carol in there and that's what I really wanted to read, so I think I'm probably going to give this 2 stars just because it wasn't what I expected. I thought it would be standalone ghost stories, and they were all, yeah, most of them, I'd say probably like 2/3 of them were excerpts from books, and it's kind of disappointing because like the Pickwick Papers is one of his books that I haven't read, but now I've seen bits from it that it just means it's not going to be as exciting when I come to read the whole book for the first time, but that's what it is. So thank you so much for watching if you've gotten this far. I really love doing these videos, and I'm really excited to kind of get started on 2019 videos soon. I hope you are, and yeah, thank you for watching and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye!